Nice to meet you. My name is Rodolfo Marcos. I am a data engineer with 8 years of experience specialized in big data, Google Cloud certified, and today you are going to a hands-on guide on how to create a data pipeline in AWS using glue and step functions. About the problem we are going to solve. Imagine this, you are working at company X and someone from HR approaches you with a request. We'd like to know all the holiday for each of our employees' home countries. As a top engineer you are, you know you have to build a pipeline to retrieve the holiday data so HR can seamlessly access up-to-date information for planning. So this is the problem we're going to start with. It's a simple problem, but the idea is to have a plan to work with data that can serve for other problems as well. And for this problem, we are going to use AWS because we have some very interesting fully served services that can help us on that. Our data from datanagger.com. This site has an API, a holiday API, which you can use to get all the holidays for a given country. You make a call like this, https://datanagger.add API v3 public holidays, the year you want, and then the country code. What API we are going to use? I developed a script locally, which I will go pass through it with you so you understand how this is getting the data from the API. So we are going to use two libraries, the request libraries and the pandas library. I'm not going through the steps of how to installing these libraries in Python, but you can use it using pip install, which is, I think, is the most straightforward way. So basically this script has the condition if you are going that's evaluated at runtime, if it's the main file. And then we are setting the country code we are going to download, which is in this case is Japan. And then it calls the method download data. So the download data method receives the country code as a parameter. Then it builds the URL for the API using the country code. And in this case, you're getting the holidays for 2024. Then it builds the requests. And then it makes the actual call to the API. And if the response is successful, which means the status code is equals to 200, we are going to parse the response as a JSON. Then we are going to convert it to a pandas data frame. And then we are selecting the columns we want. In this case is date, name, and the country code. And also we are going to convert the data column to datetime format in pandas as well. And ultimately save the data we downloaded as a Parquet file. It's always a good choice to use Parquet files when dealing with data because this is compatible with most of the big data technologies and databases. It's more efficient for storing the data. It's more performant on uploading. And when you're reading data from Parquet, it reads the data in a column level instead of rows. So you also save time reading the rows if some process is reading from those files. So this is our main script, and this is the basis of what we're going to build in the next steps. Basic script set up to download the data. Let's take a look at the full architecture we want to build. So basically, our Python script will go here in this part, which will run inside an AWS Glue job. So AWS Glue job has many solutions for creating scripts that you want to run. You can use Spark, you can use plain Python. It also has some features for processing data without any code at all or reading data from S3. So this is a pretty much complete solution for dealing with data integrated services in AWS. So once we set up the Glue job that will download the data with our Python, it will be called by a step function that will call it for each country of the list we want to download. Then the resulting Parquet file will be stored in an S3 storage. And then we will set up at the end a glue crawler that will read the data from the S3 storage service And ultimately, we'll be able to query the data in Athena as well. So all of this is inside AWS, and this is pretty much what we need to ingest this data, and it also is able to handle large volumes, even though our test is small. That we are not going to cover details regarding authorization and permissioning in this tutorial. If you don't have any notion of it and want to start studying, a good point would be to understand how AWS policies and AWS roles works. Discussed earlier, we are going to run our script inside AWS Glue as a job. So just to give an overview, AWS Glue is a fully managed ETL service that helps you prepare and transform data for analytics. It automates tasks like data discovery, schema inference, and job scheduling, making it easier to integrate data from various sources for analysis. So we have other options to process data in AWS, but we are going to use AWS Glue for now because it's simpler to set up and it will be good for our scenario. But inside the Glue, you can run like notebooks that you create, which you can use pandas, NumPy, or other Python libraries inside. You can run Glue jobs within Spark's framework, or it also has a solution for doing it in a visual manner without need to deep code, or you can build a plain Python script. Get inside the code. Remember the script we created earlier to download the data for the holidays? We are going to do some small changes on it so we can run it inside the Glue as a job. So basically here, we are going to create a method to upload the Parquet file to the S3 bucket we want, and also we included some logic to read the arguments of the country code we are going to process. Remember that for it to work, you need to include the required libraries as the Boda tree, which is the most used library to interact with AWS services and products, and the AWS glue.issues, which you're going to use to get the parameter, the country code parameter. So basically this function is going to get the country code, download the data, save the file locally as a Parquet, and later it will upload it to an S3 bucket. In this case, I'm using the holiday data test bucket, but you can choose your own. Just make sure that the bucket actually exists before you run the script. And for sake of organization, I'm saving the file inside a raw folder in the bucket. You don't need to be aware to remember all of the script. In the article below, you can check the code. Don't have the S3 bucket set up so far, you can create it with me now. Otherwise, you can skip this part. So I'm going to choose S3 from the top bar inside the AWS console, and then I'll hit create bucket. Then in my bucket name, I'll use holiday data test. I will keep other options as it is, but it's very important to block all public access in the case of this tutorial, to not have the files in the internet. Even though you don't have sensitive data exposed, you can have access billing if it goes public. I will keep other options as it is and hit create bucket. So now we should have our bucket set up. We have our bucket created. Let's actually upload our script to Glue. On the top bar, we are going to open Glue, AWS Glue. Then in the left options, we're going to choose ETL jobs. And as the last option, we're going to click on the author code with script editor. I'm going to start fresh and select the engine as Python. But if you're going to use Spark, for example, you can choose the Spark engine here. Then I'll hit create script. And now I will just copy and paste the script we just developed. Okay. Now I will call this job holiday downloader data job, and as the job details, I will use this IAM role that I have set up so far. If you don't have one, you should create a role for you that has the permissions to access the S3 to read files and create tables in the glue catalog, okay? And then I will choose the Python version as 3.9, and I will check this option, load common analytics libraries. Because we are going to use pandas, selecting this option will automatically load it for us, okay? Otherwise, you're gonna have to manually install in this library. You can keep the data processing units low, like you can select just one in this case. You can set timeouts and other options, but we keep as the default, and then hit save. Okay, so now our job is created. Go again in the job section, scroll down, under advanced properties, in the maximum concurrency, let's set a higher number because we will want to run this job in a parallel way in the future for download data for many countries as possible. So I'm going to set this as 30, and then I'll hit save again. And now I will actually try this. So I'm going to actions, run with parameters, job parameters, add a new parameter. I will enter here country code, and let's get the holidays for US, and then run job. Okay, let's see the details. It's running. Let's wait a little bit. I will just hit refresh. Okay, it succeeded. Let's see if we can see our Parquet data in the S3. So go to S3, holiday data test, raw. Okay, it worked. So we have our us.parquet file that was saved by our glue job. Job setup. We have done this part in red. So we are going to use our Python script. We are saving the data in S3 storage. Now let's focus on the step function part. Now let's create our step function. In the top bar, I will type step function. Then I will create a new state machine, choose a blank template, and then we are going to create our steps. So the first thing you're gonna choose is the map activity, which is used to run parallel workflows. So I will drop it here. So each of these maps would be a country that we are downloading the data. And inside the map, think of a map as a for loop, okay? And then inside it, I will add an glue job, start job run from AWS glue. So this is our loop. Okay, so in the map state, I will go into the configurations, and I will provide a path to items array. So this is the loop, the items we are going to loop. And here would be our country codes that you're going to pass as parameters. So we'll put $, country codes. I will set the concurrency limit because we want to download data for many countries at the same time. I will put 10, but you can choose what you want. And then I will select my glue start job run. The job name would be the name of the glue job you created in the last step. So in my case, I will just check it here real quick. AWS glue, visual ETL. So is this job name in my case. Holiday downloader is script. Okay, so I'll put it in here. And I will also provide as arguments our country code list. Arguments country code dash dollar, and then the value that we are going to use from the loop. This dollar sign would be the value that is currently being iterated in the loop. Okay, let me just double check if everything looks fine. Okay, this should be under double quotes. Okay, so we should be good. We are going to call this glue job name holiday downloader job, passing as parameter, as the country code parameter, the current element we are iterated in the map. Okay, so let's hit create. We'll go to my configuration tab of my state machine. I will call it holiday step function. I will also use the role that I have here, which is this step function deploy state machine processing. If you don't have one that has the required access, you should create and use it here. I will keep the options as it is and hit create. Okay, since it's created, let's test it. So I will go to execute. Then here I should pass the list of the country codes that I want to download. So this should be a JSON parameter. Country code, and then the values of the countries I want to download. I will put US, Japan, Brazil, and AL for testing. Let me just double check. Okay, we have JSON with a key named country codes and an array with the countries we want to download. Okay, let's start the execution. Okay, it's saying that it's succeeded. Now we should check our S3 to see if the files are there. So I will go to my S3 bucket, holiday data test, raw, and yeah, we can see here Japan, Brazilian, and AL countries created with the updated timestamp. So our step function can now handle and download data for multiple countries at the same time. Let's review our full architecture. We have already developed our step function. We are saving the files in S3 storage. Now it's time to get the data using Glue Crawler and then querying it using Athena. Okay, so we are almost there. Let's create now our Glue Crawler that will scan the data from S3. I will open AWS Glue, and then on the left side inside the data catalog I will choose crawlers, then create crawler. I will call it holiday data crawler. Hit next. Is your data already mapped to glue tables? I will select no. I will add a data source. Here we need to point where our parquet files are. So I will choose S3 as data source. We'll keep the network connection as empty. And in the S3 path, I will hit my bucket name and location. In this case, my files is under the holiday data test bucket inside the folder raw. Okay, I will choose select all to crawl all subfolders, add data. Okay, going to the next section. Here I'm choosing an existing role that I have here. If you don't have one, you should create a role that has access to some glue features and S3. I will hit next. And then we need to choose a database and a table from our glue catalog. In this case, I will put in default, okay? And as the table name prefix, I will put holiday data country as the table name prefix. This is how much often the crawler will be running to read this data and putting in this catalog. I will put on demand, which means that I basically need to manually run, but you can put, for example, hourly if the data is quite changing a lot during the day, or daily, what's best fits for you. Then next, review and create crawler. Okay, this is created. Now we are going to trigger a run crawler. Let's wait a little bit. It's running and reading the data from our S3. At the end, it should create the table for us. Let's wait a little bit. While it's running, worth to say that it will read all the parquet files that we have for each country, and it will understand automatically what is the schema for these files. Because they have a pattern of which columns they hold, it will kind of create a logic to group all these files in a single table. That's some smart logic that exists in Glue. Okay, so we have it completed, and when we refresh, we can say that one table changed, so it recognizes our data. We are in the last step of our tutorial, in which we will query the data using Athena. Athena is a serverless query service that allows users to analyze data in Amazon Simple Storage Service, or Amazon S3, using standard SQL. I will type in the top bar Athena, Serverless Interactive Analytics Service. And here on the left, I will select our data source, our database, which in this case is the default. And I can see here that using the table prefix we set up, I already have the holiday data country here. I will choose preview table. And as you can see, just closing these tabs, when I query this table, I have the holidays for all the countries that we ingested for the 2024 date. So this is it. We could ingest all the data we needed, and using most of AWS serverless resources. Thank you all to be here with me in this tutorial. I wanna say thank you, and if possible, give thumbs up on this story. Follow me on YouTube, on Medium, because it will help me a lot on sharing my knowledge, because I really like to teach and learn about data engineering. So thank you all again.